Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Juan of Words podcast. I'm Juan Alanis.
And I'm Angelica Casares.
And welcome to the month of love, the month of February.
Good God, here we go with estimating the day, description, what day we're on.
I knew you were going to get on my case, so I was doing that.
On purpose?
On purpose.
So today, and it's 3 o'clock. Thanks, guy, for joining us.
And we're actually recording earlier than we normally record. Like normally we record late in the evening. So when we decided to record early today, I was kind of like, "What? It's unusual for us to record early. Why'd you push my earpiece?"
Because it always falls out and it annoys me, and then you start hitting this stuff.
Oh.
So I'm trying to prevent everything that's going to happen.
So it's 3 o'clock our time here in Houston, and you just came in because you had been getting ready for the podcast recording, and you came in and you're like, "You're not ready. Estás todo sucio. You got stuff everywhere."
I didn't say all that. I didn't say that. You probably think that of yourself. Mira nomás, don't blame me for that.
No, because I was literally like running around and I didn't realize how late it was, and I was like, "Oh, I need to eat something," and so I was eating while I was setting up. And
no, you make me sound so mean. You make me sound like I came in here, hey, mugroso. Cuatro patas.
Cuatro patas.
Like a dog, like flea infested. Like you make it sound like that's what that like I'm treating you or something, and I'm like, no, that's not what happened. You've been bothering me for the last 3 days, and you're like, hey, we haven't recorded.
Bothering you?
We haven't. Yeah, bothering me.
Bothering you.
Oh my God. Bothering. So we haven't recorded in the last 3 days, and the problem with that is that these really don't take, well, they do. They're about an hour and a half long that we take to like set up and do everything. And then whoever's going to be like presenting the topic, like it takes time to actually go and find information or make sure that we're actually giving you listeners great content for you to listen through your ears, that we're just not like Juan likes to start these podcasts, like giving you like the day and the time.
I'm
and
timestamping
it's
them.
Right. You know, he sets the mood, and I'm like, that's not the mood, dude. But, so I definitely understand, you know, sometimes it takes up time, but so you've been, okay, not bothering me, but been telling me, hey, we haven't recorded in a while. We need to, like, if we're going to be doing this, we need to be consistent, right? We don't want to just drop off and like, what if we have somebody waiting for an episode? I mean, probably... Maybe not. Maybe it's just us. But
no. But I had been bothering you. I've been like, "Hey, like, when are we going to record? When are we going to record? Because we usually take turns. Like, sometimes you'll be ready to record, and sometimes I won't be ready to record. So it's like, but this time I was like, when are we going to record? And
I think you've been ready for a while. Yeah. So it was just a matter of time of me, like, and to me, like, I knew that you had to have the topic. So it's just a matter of me actually either putting on makeup or being like mindset ready and coming in, sitting down and having the conversation. But so you've been like on me for the last 72 hours, right? We need to record. And then finally I'm like, hey, you know what? 3 o'clock today. I got a free open schedule. Let's do this. Walk in here. Who ain't ready?
Full and ready.
Who is not ready?
Oh, I thought you said full and ready.
No,
I was like, okay.
Of course I was full and ready to go. But I walk in and you're like still munching. You got crumbs everywhere.
To my credit, I'm the one that set up everything today, and I set up all the lights. I set up all the things. But really, I just was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and like. But I was like, let me get something to eat. So I was just eating, and
my credit, this food. To my credit, I put the camera on the stand.
And I hadn't, like, I literally today when I got up, I started working. So I haven't really been away from my computer that much. So I literally just got up and was like, let me put on a hat porque ni me he peinado para decirles eso. So it's like whenever I wear a hat, usually it's because I haven't even you know.
Oof, you worn a hat every time. At this point, they're going to know, what? You done gave away.
Yeah, no, I'm dishing out my secrets. No, but you know, it's just one of those days. I think for me, the entire month.
Penas, you dished out your penas. You're out here. Yeah. I haven't taken a bath. It's been a long day.
Well, I didn't say all that. Thank you for
No,
outing
you
me.
didn't. Yes, you did.
No, I said ni me he peinado. I didn't say no me he bañado.
Oh, my bad. No, but you did.
Thank you for outing me about that too.
I'm sorry. Okay. All right. Yeah. So anyway, it's I'm back to be here sitting with you again.
No, I'm glad that we're back doing it again, because I think like, you know, this is fun, and we want to keep, like you said,
we missed a week and we're sorry.
Yeah, we want to keep doing podcasts, and we want to keep them keep doing content that's interesting and that's relevant and you guys find entertaining. So with that, let's talk about our sponsor for the episode, which is our partner Comcast in Houston. And we are working with them for the next couple of months. And, there are friends that we know here locally in Houston, but they also have great services like the X5 pods, which we use here at our house, which help your connectivity overall. And they also have like great programs for entrepreneurs. There's a new initiative that they have called the Rise Initiative. And it really is for entrepreneurs, to help entrepreneurs and encourage them and to support them. So I'm actually going to be doing a Facebook Live this month with them on our One of Words page. So if you guys listen to this before the 16th of February, go ahead and check us out. Come back on the 16th of February. Look for us for the One of Words Facebook page. And we will be doing a live stream session there where we're going to be talking about the Rise Initiative and what that's all about. So thanks to Comcast and for being our sponsors.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. So you started something. You want to talk about what you started?
What did I start?
Why you haven't been wanting to record?
No, I don't want to talk about it.
No, you don't want to talk about it?
No, I don't. No, I'm so scared. I'm so scared to tell anybody anything.
Oh, you don't want to say it? It's a secret? I didn't know it was a secret.
Yep, I haven't told us. Well, of course, I think I mentioned it to my mom.
What's the secret, though?
None of your business.
Why is it a secret?
Oh, why is it a secret?
Yeah.
Because I'm so afraid that it's not going to go well. And so if nobody knows, it didn't happen. If nobody knows, it didn't happen.
But what is it that they say that you're supposed to have an accountability partner? So you can have like literally accountability,
all right, you know what?
partner listeners.
I'll share it. I'll share it on here, okay? I have an OnlyFans page.
Again with the OnlyFans.
Look, there was a moment, I took it.
I feel like you secretly want an OnlyFans.
No, it's because that OnlyFans, the conversation has been coming up so much lately. And so it's like, what? I don't know what it is. Like, I have a very great representation as to what it is, the way people talk about it. Is it an app? Is it in a website? Like, I don't know the extent of what I know what takes place there. But I don't know the extent of like how it's even done.
Oh, but like, basically, like I guess, isn't it like a secure website that you or like a secure thing that you get access to by making payments?
Para decirte esto, my understanding is supposed to be like Twitch. I don't even have a Twitch account.
No, I've never used Twitch. So.
That's what I'm saying. Like I don't know. And so, but last time we talked about OnlyFans, and but no, it's not a secret. It's not a secret. If all goes well, or if not even well, if all goes as planned, I'll share it like after the fact.
Oh, okay.
After the fact. Yeah. So that's that.
Okay.
It's not a secret. It's just, I don't know. So anyway,
okay,
yeah.
We'll leave it at that because I think you don't want to share right now. So
no, not now.
Not now, but I'll leave it there. I won't say anything else because I don't want to spoil it either.
Yeah.
So let's go.
Let's go into the topic. Vámonos, órale. Come on, bring the topic on.
Come on,
bring the topic on. No, but let's see. Aside from that, I'm still doing like my other stuff. I think I'm on TikTok now. I got one little post up there, but I'm on TikTok
now because I made you get on TikTok.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
But
we're on Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Every Sunday, Latino Sunday brunch on Clubhouse, I think at 1 o'clock. What time is it?
Yeah,
1 o'clock Central.
1 p.m. Central time.
We're on there and we talk about all sorts of things. The first conversation was about machismo. Second conversation was about Latino identity or cultural identity. And this last conversation, we opened up the floor and we just had all sorts of interesting conversations.
Yeah.
We met amazing people on there. So that was fun.
Yeah, and if you're not familiar with Clubhouse, it's a new app and it's like audio based. So you basically just go on and you like when you haven't taken a bath and you haven't brushed your hair,
Jesus,
it doesn't matter because you can go on there and you can literally be doing anything. So and you're basically talking to other people on audio like you were on a conference call, but it's just random people. You don't like make a meeting and bring people in. It's just you go they call them hallways. So you literally walk the hallways on the app
and you go into rooms
and you find rooms that you're interested in and you just walk in and you have a conversation. Actually,
you listen. So everybody enters as an audience member, and then either you raise your hand and then you get invited up to talk, or somebody invites you to get on to talk.
And actually tonight, I think they were saying that everybody was like talking about that Elon Musk is supposed to be on there. He's supposed to be having a conversation tonight on Clubhouse.
About?
I think they were saying that him and Mark Zuckerberg, but I don't know if that Mark Zuckerberg part is true or not, but I think he's going to be on the app. I think he's going to be on the app tonight.
What, listening? Mark is going to be like, no, homie, I'm here to listen. Like, you go ahead.
Yeah, but it's an interesting app, and we've part of that actually the topic that we're talking about today was kind of inspired by a conversation that we were having, like when we were talking about culture identity. Like one of the things that came up that I was like, oh, that's what you call that, and I was like, we should talk about that on the episode. That's how it came about. But I do want to just share real quick that like we actually have received the COVID vaccine. We got the Pfizer vaccine.
I didn't know you were going to mention that.
Yeah, I wanted to mention it because I know we worked with the health department. And
the City of Houston Health Department.
Yeah, and we encouraged everybody to get tested. And, now we were able to get the vaccine here in Houston, and we were able to get the Pfizer vaccine. So it was not a painful process. It was very quick. Like actually when we showed up.
We should mention that the county has gone into phase 2, which they're encouraging people not only over 60 to get the vaccine, just anybody over 60 to get the vaccine, regardless of your health, just over 60, right? And then they open it up to phase 2, which means those who are whose immune system can be compromised by underlying health conditions. And so under that factor, we were able to get our vaccine. And so and we had been waiting for that to happen. We as soon as we knew phase 2 would open, we had an inkling that we might qualify for it. And so we it became available, and we were like, well, let's see if we qualify. And you actually have to go through the process to qualify. Like you don't just sign your name and you get the vaccine. That's not the way that works. I think some people are misinformed, right? Because I've heard that some people have been offering, like if you're a scheduler, like I've heard that some people have been offering vaccines to like friends and family and extended people like that, right? Regardless of like your health condition. I don't know if that's true. I'm not here to say yay or nay. We actually had to go through the process. There was an application process online that it appears, and it asks you variable questions, and then it based on the information that you give, and it has to be correct. You have to be honest with it. Based on the information you give, it'll either schedule you or tell you no. It'll tell you no. We're in this phase. Whenever this phase opens up, we'll let you know. For you to receive your vaccine, because there's a lot of misinformation out there, and I think some people maybe think that you know what I mean. So, look, there's an application process right now to get the vaccine. I know, at least I know for here in Harris County.
You're doing a lot of explaining.
I am.
My reason for sharing it, not really about the explanation. I'm more about So I wanted to share it because I feel like there's still, in the Latino community, there's still a lot of confusion about getting, whether or not to get the vaccine, whether or not to go and get it. There's still a lot of debate, a lot of people that, I know, like in my own family, that don't want to go and get the vaccine. So I think there's a lot of concern about like whether it's safe or not. And so I just wanted to say,
they have a lot of reservations. Yeah.
So I just want to say, like, we've gotten it, like we've like taken it, nothing's happened to us. And like a friend told me, she said, tell me if you start growing any gills.
We're 4 days after the vaccine, and so far we're okay.
Yeah, nothing's happened.
So tell me, how did you feel when you? I guess here we go. Let's do this. A quick interview. How did you feel before you took the vaccine? How did you feel?
I felt like, what do you mean? I didn't feel sick or anything. I felt like
no. Like, fine. How did you feel about taking the vaccine?
I mean, I was a little nervous because I didn't know what to expect, and I had heard things like people said like, oh, what if you get sick? What if it gives you COVID? So that was my concern. I was like, maybe it'll give me sick and I'll get COVID after. So I was a little apprehensive, but once
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I just said, but once I got it, I didn't think it was so quick. Like I did the way they injected it. When they injected it, I mean, there was still a process to get in.
Well, hold on. We're still in the process of like how you felt about getting the vaccines. But did you hear about like sterilization, like the vaccine making you sterile? Was that a concern of yours? Okay.
No, I didn't even hear about that.
Oh, Juan, seriously, you didn't do your research?
No, because I don't. Is that true? Like, who said that?
I don't know. I don't know if there's an official study out there.
No, I mean, but
in regards to that.
I didn't even know that was a thing, though, that people were saying that about sterilization.
I think that was one of the concerns.
Oh, I didn't know
that it might make you sterile.
No, I didn't know that.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so you knew you wanted it and you wanted to go get it, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
my thing is like I'd rather have it than not, because I know that, I don't know, because I mean I keep hearing about it being like when the news, it keeps reporting like there's new variants coming in and this and that, and I'm like I'd rather be protected than not.
What was one of the main reasons that you got it?
For that reason.
For that reason. Okay, so I know you visit your mom a lot. And I know that she gets visited a lot, right? By your nieces and nephews and your sisters and your other brother and stuff like that. And so do you feel like that was one of the reasons to also get vaccinated, to be able to visit like your mom comfortably?
I don't know, like, because I don't know, like, after you get the vaccine, if you can really be that, like, if you can really be that confident that it's not gonna, like, you're not gonna get it. So I'm like, I feel like I would still wear a mask and I would still like take precautions, but I guess
Does it ease your mind a little bit to know that you have it?
It does and it doesn't. I mean, it does because I'm like, okay, well, at least I know I have it now. So like, if I get sick, maybe if I get it, maybe it won't hit me as bad, or maybe I'll be able to recuperate from it faster than did I not have it and then I just got it and then I wasn't able to recuperate.
Yeah. So, okay. So I guess then my question now is, how did you feel like, okay, so take me through the process of actually getting the vaccine and how you felt when you got the vaccine.
Yeah. So basically basically the process was that it was like we drove in, like we made an appointment and then they gave it to us a specific day. So we drove in. And then there was like this long winding path that you have to go through, like through all these people. They check your name in. They make sure that you're on. Checkpoints. Yeah, they make sure that you're on the list, and then they directed you. So we went together, and then I took my mom the day after. And when we went, the first day, we walked into the building, and then inside the building, they screened us. They screened you again and make sure that it was you. And then they passed you to a table where there were some medical practitioners
so there was a first table, and they checked off your name, make sure it was you. You had to give identification,
right? So
that we had to have our ID. We had to give our identification to make sure it was us, and then from there was another set of tables behind them.
Yeah, and then we basically went, and then like I don't remember the exact process, but then they roll up your sleeve and they put your shot on the arm. They ask you which arm you prefer, and then they put the shot in. But it's like literally when they put in the shot, it's like in and out. So it's like you don't really feel it. Like I didn't feel anything.
I was trying to explain it to a friend of mine how it felt. But the best way I could do it is, have you ever pushed up against like a cactus and you felt like a shot, like a quick thing, and you're like, oh.
I didn't even feel anything though.
You didn't feel it. Was a tiny needle. So I guess I was very much self-aware, because I am one of those paranoid people. My friend and my niece asked me, how do you feel? And I said, I am the wrong person to ask because I tend to be like, what is those people who think they're always sick and something's always wrong with them?
Is it hypochondria?
I think so. So I tend to be in the spectrum of things where everything is wrong with me. Don't ask me, I'm the wrong person. But so when we first walked in, there's a set of tables, like I said, and they passed us to the back table, to the set of other tables where they have the nurses who administer the actual shot. They have the person who again identifies you, show them your ID again. They start to put down information on this one vaccine, and it has lot numbers, and they tell you you're getting the Pfizer vaccine. They give you a lot number. They tell you to roll up your sleeve. They tell you, we're going to monitor you for 15 minutes, give you a quick shot. They give you an identification vaccine card. They hand you the information also, just like when you go and you get vaccines and you take your kids, they give you sheets of information on the vaccine. So it's when they did the trials, everything that they found in the trials, and the the side effects that you might receive and get. That information they have to disclose, and so they give you that information on those pages, on those papers. Right. So it's like if you might experience a headache, or if you feel like this, like contact emergency, and stuff like that information. So I don't want to misquote this, because I definitely don't want to get in trouble for like saying something odd, but if my information is wrong, I'll tell Juan to put up a title here that was incorrect and whatever. So anyways, they give us information, and then they monitor you for 15 minutes. They make you go sit somewhere else, and then that's where we want to go sit. We want to go sit down so they can monitor us. And of course, that's where I lose my shit, because I just received a vaccine and it's fairly new, and I'm very contemplate. I'm very aware of what's happening. I'm very aware, like, for the first time in a long time, like, I knew we were in this process, like the pandemic, but it hits you. Like, it looks straight up out of a movie. When I was sitting there, I was like, oh my God, like, we're really doing this. Like, they're doing mass vaccinations for something that occurred in the world, not regional, not national, in the world. There's thousands and hundreds, and at this point, millions of people doing the same thing that we're doing right now. And so it all, like, it dawns on me, right? And so I asked you, Juan, how did you feel when you got the vaccine, right? You said you didn't feel it, right?
No, I didn't feel anything. Like, I looked over and I was like, oh, are you done? And they were like, yeah. And then because they were putting a Band-Aid on me already, and I was like, oh, okay. And I didn't feel anything.
I was like, I turned my head, because I've gotten, like, vaccines before, and some of them hurt. The way they use the needles, and I'm like, I don't want to feel it. And I was like, that's it. I was like, did she give me anything? And so we went to go sit down, and then of course I start, panicking a little bit, because that's my nature, is to overthink things and to be very, again, I'm self-aware and I'm understanding things, and it's really hard for me to like unfasten what's happening, right? To put, look down my phone and keep busy. I can't do that, and so I'm aware of what's happening. And I told a friend that the last time I remember getting vaccines before, and there's this thing that happens when you get a vaccine, and it's happened to me before, where I just feel a sense of like rush, right? It's like somebody flips like a small little like switch on you, where you get hot and cold real quick, and you feel it, right? It's like cuando te asustan, like you see something, you're like, and you're like, oh, it's nothing. You know what I mean?
But see, I normally avoid vaccines. I normally don't. Like, I won't get the flu vaccine every year. Like, I just don't, because I feel like, I don't know, like, I feel like I don't need it, so I don't get it. But this one, like, I was like, at first I was kind of like,
I get the flu vaccine. I don't get I mentally get the flu vaccine now. I'm like, oh, you know what? That's probably a good idea to get it now, because it's not about you. It's if you catch it, you can give it to somebody else, the flu. Yeah. So.
And, yeah. So basically that was it. I mean, I felt like I didn't really feel.
Did you hear that one?
The cat? Yeah.
No, that's not a cat.
What is it?
That's a kid next door. So we have new neighbors, and they're loud.
No, but what I was saying, like, just to not stay on this topic for too long, I would just say, like, for me, what I was saying is that I just wanted to talk about it on the podcast, because I feel like, there's still a lot of misconceptions out there, but from Latinos in terms of like getting it or not, or why you should get it or not. Is it safe or is it not safe? And I think that that. In my mind, it is better to have it than not to have it, because you're more protected. And one thing that I did want to kind of share, like, there was an article that I was reading in terms of like in LA, using LA County as an example, like the number of deaths per 100,000 people in LA County has increased from the average was like 3.5 Latinos per every 100,000 people in terms of deaths.
3.5 Latinos.
Yeah.
100,000 Latinos, 3.5.
No, in the population overall. Okay. And so then it was 3.5 in November, and now in January it's 40 for every 100,000. So it's 40 Latinos for every 100,000 residents in LA County that are dying.
Pass from COVID.
So that like they've increased like 1,000% in that time frame. Like in only like those 3 months, it's increased 1,000%. So I think that because there's a lot of misinformation and because there's a lot of concern, I think it's only a shot. It's not gonna like it's like if you get the flu shot, what's the thing? You might get the flu, or you might get like remnants of the flu. But like to me, in my mind, like I'd rather get COVID but be protected by the vaccine than just get COVID and not be protected.
Okay.
So
what I was saying,
making my case.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to add on that. Like you hear the deaths, but I think some of the things that people are now talking about, and some people kind of glaze over, is the effects of COVID that some people are living with. They call them the long haulers of COVID. Yeah, and I think that's not talked about, right? So now you have people who are having health issues once they've had COVID. And so that was one of my worries for me, my reasons for getting vaccine is that catching COVID and the long effects that it might have. And not only that, I feel like if I want to see my family again and sooner, then I should probably vaccinate myself.
And it's it is disproportionately affecting our community. So like you do hear about other communities, like probably more so than ours. Like you hear people talking about it on the news and stuff like that. They talk about other communities.
They talk about it in general, yeah.
But they don't necessarily talk about the Hispanic community all the time. So I think it's not a big story for mainstream media, but it is a big story for us that are part of the community. So I think that we should definitely do our part. And I think if if you're scared of the vaccine, I would say just do it. I mean, it's not the worst thing that you can do. So anyway, I'll leave it there.
Man, what?
You're like, don't say that.
Cause Juan, every time you talk, I'm like, what is he gonna say? Who is he gonna? I don't want you to offend anybody.
That's okay.
I'm so afraid. No, that's not okay.
But listen, I'm just saying that I do want to talk about the topic that I wanted to talk about today was the phrase code switching.
Code switching. Oh, code switching. Yeah. Okay, I know what you're talking about now. All right.
Which for me, like, I don't like. This is kind of a new term because I kind of know what it is. I mean, obviously, I know what. As soon as they said it,
I was like, oh.
Because I kind of know what it is. I mean, obviously, I know what it is.
Hearing it made me so happy.
But I don't know, even when we were having this conversation, so I said that it was like, this was a conversation we were having on Clubhouse. And then, we had been having the conversation for probably about 45 minutes. And we were just talking about, cultural identity in different terms. Mm-hmm. And then somebody that joined the conversation said code switch. And I was like, oh, that's what that word is. That's what we're doing.
I didn't even know there was a word to it. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I can code switch.
Yeah. So it was like code switching is basically when you change, you switch something like your behavior or your language or the way that you're communicating, the way that you're expressing yourself.
Based on where you're at and who you're with.
Yeah. Based on the situation and things like that.
Yeah. And those who can code switch very effectively and easily tend to be a lot of Hispanics and Latinos because of our cultural aspects of the way we live our life, right? We have our work and then we have home life and then we have our friends and then we have, the general, and we can code switch depending on who we're talking about. And I was like, you know what? That is a superpower. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But there's a little bit of, not controversy, but there's a little bit of debate, I guess, around code switching and whether or not
there's debate around it
a little bit because
why?
When we do it and why we do it.
What? Why would that be debatable?
So let me read you this quote that I was reading in an article, because especially for the African American community, there's a lot of but I think it's very related to the Latino community too. Mm-hmm. So any minority really, but this was an article by Ida Harris on a publication called Yes. Solutions Journalism. She wrote an article about code switching, and this was one of the quotes that was in there. She was talking about how black people, African Americans, use code switching and why. And so she says, for African Americans, code switching is a performative expression that has not only helped some of us thrive in mainstream culture, it has helped many of us simply survive. And I was like, that's kind of an interesting quote because I think that a lot of times.
Well, can you explain? Can you expand on it? What that means? What she means by that?
I guess that simply surviving is she was referencing, so not only in a work environment, but she was also making reference to some of the Black Lives Matter movement where you have to do certain things when you're pulled over by a policeman, that you show your hands or you tell them what you're going to be doing and this and that, because it's you wouldn't normally do that behavior, but because you're in a situation where you're trying to survive, you're telling them different behaviors. But I think that's that's not necessarily what the everyday usage of it is. But I think a lot of times you might think of it when you your proper voice. When you use your proper voice.
Do you have one?
Yeah, I think I do have a proper voice.
Do I have one?
Yeah. And when we say proper voice, it's the voice that you use, that you wouldn't a lot of times it's when you're around Caucasian people.
We make fun of ourselves a lot for that.
Yeah. So it's you
not even Caucasian, it's just that professional, and we happen to call it whitewashing our voice.
And it's like when your tone changes, the way you speak, you enunciate your words a lot more, and
the manner in which you say things.
You're a lot softer, like in the way that you talk. You're not, really.
I don't go soft. I go assertive.
Yeah, but even when you're assertive, you're still softer.
Oh, like my approach is much softer if I'm being aggressive.
The words you choose are softer. They're not like, you're not like as like, they're not as forceful. Like you can be more, like I think sometimes when you're like talking, when you're comfortable, you can easily, you're just talking and it's very casual. So you can like say things like the way we were code switching before, like when we were going back and forth in English and Spanish, and we were just like saying something like whatever we were saying, and then we said something in Spanish to be better understood. Yeah. Or to relay whatever message.
Because sometimes it's only, there's no way to translate some things.
Yeah. And so, but I guess the question that's come into play is like for some people is like, what is the cost of code switching? Like, why do we feel like we need to code switch? And like for me, like it made me think about like something that I think when I code switched in like one particular situation where I felt like maybe I shouldn't have code switched. I felt like I code switched for probably about a year of my being in a particular job, in a corporate job. Like I felt like I was code switching the entire year that I was there, because I came into this environment where I was the only Latino in the building, in the office. Like I was the only Latino. It was a small office, but there were like 12 of us. So
you mean in the agency? In the agency,
and there were like 12 of us, and I was the only Latino there, and I was the only one that spoke Spanish. I was the only one that was like, so it was, I felt like in order to gain acceptance, in order to be taken seriously, that I had to do a lot of code switching, in terms of just, pretending that I knew what some of the conversations were about, pretending that I did like understand some of the shows that people were talking about, pretending that I like
even the shows.
Yeah, even the shows, like, or that
even like what you did in pastime.
Yeah, okay. That I was interested in some of the things that I wasn't that interested in. That I like, when we were getting ballet service and this and that it wasn't like, oh, we do that here. Like I didn't like, oh yeah, but more being like, yeah, I'm used to that. Like, yeah, it's cool. Like I do that all the time. So
really,
even going to lunch, I felt like, it was just a different environment. And I feel like in hindsight, like when I think back to it, I'm like, I don't know that code switching that much was a good thing. Cause I feel like, I feel like I would have been more comfortable had I not done all the code switching, had I just been myself and been like, I listened to Spanish music, and I watched Spanish TV, and I like, and I'm not at all like into all those things that, on the American side. Maybe I'm more into the Latino side. And
do you feel like you felt like a fraud, or you felt like an imposter?
I felt like I was an imposter, so I felt like that was part of the reason of my being unhappy there, is that I just wasn't myself. Like I wasn't being myself, so I felt that I was uncomfortable, or that I couldn't just be myself. So and that's one thing. But on the other hand, I feel like because the environment was I was the only one of my kind in this environment. Like I felt like the fact that I wasn't myself kind of was misleading and a missed opportunity for the other people that were in the office with me
to get to know you.
Not to get to know me, but to like understand that.
It's in terms of your culture.
Yeah, that people that from my background don't necessarily have to code switch or be switch their behaviors in order to be accepted in the environment. Because I feel
so then what do you do? Like you got like okay, so then what do you do? Like I've never been in the situation. Like I've never been in.
I feel like you embrace your culture. Like I think like had I like, not that I would have come in like wearing like a sombrero and all this other stuff, but like
Jesus.
But I think like had I like been less like awkward about like just being who I was, or like showing that like, yeah, like maybe I didn't have the nicest car, or I didn't have like the, I wasn't like, sporting the most, the nicest like what do you call it, suits.
Yeah, okay, Juan, but Do you feel like you were treading water then lightly? Like if you like if I feel like sometimes I think that's I think you like I think that's very honest of you to sit here and talk about such a like a moment like that, because I know what you're talking about. Like that was at your height of your professional career in the corporate world. And I feel so I hear you. I hear what you're saying, but don't you think that because you didn't know how to survive in that environment, so the only thing you knew what to do was to go to the immediate, and you know when to turn on and when to turn off, so like that you can just so you could you know, the culture environment in that setting was a culture environment in that setting, whether you were there or not. It was going to happen.
But regardless. That's what I'm saying. It didn't have to be that environment. I think had I shown different, that perhaps it would have like been a path to create.
But what
change.
what does that even mean? Because then you are susceptible to then be either like discouraged or be like put on, you know, being put on, like we used to call it being put on blast, like being put up like on a scoreboard, and like people like, does he fit here, does he not fit here? I mean, you tread careful water when you start to put your quote unquote real self out there.
But the thing is, those things are happening anyway, just because you're not the same. I think those things are happening anyway. Like it doesn't matter, like whether you're code switching, whether you're
now we're talking what, 7 years ago?
Yeah, but I know what I'm saying is like, like somebody was still thinking like, well, should he be here or is he here because of affirmative action? Is like
do you
people
really feel like that?
I feel like that any situation where you're the only one in the room, that somebody's gonna have those thoughts like, oh, okay, so why is this like our affirmative action hire? Is this like, you know, I think that there is like some of that mentality there. So I think those things were already happened regardless. So to me, like I feel like I guess I would have felt better about, you know, not doing so much code switching. I would have probably been more comfortable in my, like, being in the position. I would have probably been able to adjust better to being there. And I think it would have been like a little bit like almost like educational for the people that worked with me to see like, oh, okay, like this, you know.
Well, how comfortable was the environment for you to be able to, obviously you didn't feel comfortable in the environment for you to like come out as like this.
Well, I think that was part of me, my personality anyway, that I'm just like, I'm not the person that would have pushed the envelope in that scenario, because that's not who I am. I did have one of my clients, she was like the opposite of me. So she was like she happened to be Black American, and she was, you know, she wore her natural hair, and she wore her like you know, like what do you call them, the patterns that were very like African centric and stuff like that. And she was very proud of it. She walked around like embracing it, and everybody knew you know, that she was also over diversity and inclusion. So it was like, you know, everybody knew that she was who she was, and that was who she was, and it didn't matter. So I think there were like and she was a client, she wasn't working within the company that I was working in, but I did see like, so when I saw her doing that, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool that she can do that. She can be like so like out open about her culture, open about who she is, and, you know, talk the way that she wants to, and not necessarily have to like always be so proper.
Then what is your culture then? Then what would you have done differently, I guess?
Me, like, I think I would have, like, you know, just not tried to like fit in so much. Like I think that like a lot of times, like, you know, you try to fit in because you want to be accepted as part of the group, or as part of the like community that you're in. So would
you say then you would have found it more comfortable to identify yourself differently, as opposed to like giving them a version of yourself who you thought wasn't really like accurate?
Well, not that I was lying. I don't think I was lying. I think I was just like, I was not, I was holding back. So like one instance, like I've never invited people to my office because it was never like, it was an office where there was hardly ever any noise. So there was
that is true. I always went
really quiet.
When I went to your office, I would go at night.
Yeah, so like it was really quiet all the time. That is
true.
So
you were even like embarared of me.
I never invited anybody up.
Ah, hell no, Juan! You were embarrassed of me.
Angelica, let me get this out. So I was like, I never really invited anybody to my office. You know, I never took like, you know, I never would take like something like mole or like pozole, or, you know, I wouldn't take ethnic that because foods. If I heated it up in the microwave, it was gonna smell. It was gonna like. not smell, but it was like the aroma was going to fill up the entire office, and people were going to be like, what is that? Like, or like, even if there was just like, what, it smells good. Not that they were going to be like, oh, that smells nasty, but even if they just said it smelled good, it was going to call attention, and I didn't want to call attention to myself for food. So like even little things like that, or, you know, the one time that I did have a friend come over and she happened to be loud, everybody was like, what's going on? Like, what's wrong? Like, you know, even to the point, like, even the decor in my office, like, I felt it had to be very subdued, you know, like I didn't want to put like,
you didn't take anything.
No, I didn't want to put like my, you know, like my little Colombian car that I have that like, they're like my little, I like my little Mexican things.
You
that
can
I
tell.
Had in there. I didn't bring them into the office.
That is funny because you can tell where our workspace, based on like, our, as Mexican as it gets around our house, like even mine, like right in front of my desk is as Mexican as it can get, because it like, I don't know, like it makes me feel happy.
Yeah. Or like even like right here, I have three sombreros hanging right here in my room.
Yeah.
But I would like, and like now if I were to, like, this is my office now that I use here, but if I had an office like in an actual building, like somewhere else, like I would use a lot of the same stuff. But in that environment, I didn't feel like it was like, not that it wouldn't have been accepted, but that it would have been looked at like, oh, is that really the best thing that we should have in our office, is like sombreros and like, you know, all this like that much stuff on there. Like, I don't think that anybody would have like told me like take that down, but I think it would have been a point of contention if somebody would have like mentioned it to somebody else and said, oh, did you see that he's just making his office so ethnic or something.
I hear you, Juan. I hear you, but I feel like that was a lot of internal like
and I feel
awkwardness within you. I don't think it had anything to do with the office itself.
No, and I don't mean to like make it sound like it was the office. I don't think it was. I think that's what I'm saying. Like, had I not done so much code switching, that it would have been better. That I would have felt better about it, because I would have not like shifted myself so much. And, you know, I think maybe the office culture itself would have changed a little bit, and maybe been a little bit more accepting for the next person that came through and that happened to also be Latino, that they could, if they wanted to, they could be a little bit more like, not, you know, just code switch, not the you know, proper version of themselves, but they could have just been a little bit more themselves. So I know you're looking at me like I'm crazy, but like so I just wanted to.
No, I'm not looking at you crazy. Like, I'm trying to understand what the sense is. Like, I'm trying to understand, because like I said, I've never been in that corporate setting for me to like judge it or to say that wasn't correct or not. So I'm trying to put myself in a like a mindset and be like, would I have done the same, or how would I have handled something like that? Because it was a high pressure job. It was like intense, and so anything that would rock the boat was already like it was unnecessary like stuff. And so I think the position you were in was definitely like different.
I think even like when you go to a networking event and you're not the only, you're the only, let's say you're the only person of color, you're the only Latina in the room. If you go to that networking event, do you feel like you're going to act the same that you would like in an environment where it's a Latina event?
No, and it's exhausting.
Yeah,
it's exhausting. I have to say, yeah, you're right. I think some conferences have taken place, or even some luncheons, some freaking luncheons, or some galas. You'll be there and you'll be like, ugh.
So imagine that, but doing that for a year.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
So like, not that it was anybody's fault. It was my own doing. Like, nobody forced me to do it. Like, I did it because I thought that's what I needed to do. But it did take a toll on me, like, because I was like, oh, this is like so much work. So
you were burnt out on...
I was like, it's so much extra work to have to do this.
No, pues...
And so, like, I feel like, you know, had I not made the choice to do that, that it would have been... I would have had a better time there. And not that it was a bad environment. Like, I enjoyed working there. I thought it was a cool place, and everything else. I still talk to people that I used to work with there. But it was like exhausting. Like, I think that, you know, it's a good way to say it. Like, it was exhausting to constantly be like, you know, like, you know, not be so.
Yeah, I kind of
like
imagine.
Not let the ghetto out, right?
Oh God. Okay, you're so far from ghetto, Juan.
But even that,
you're so far from that.
But even at that,
ghetto is here.
Okay,
But
even
you know what I mean?
Put it at that like as far removed away from ghetto do you think I am? you think that I would be considered ghetto in that environment?
You're so far removed from ghetto. I mean, I would call you a country bumpkin before I call you ghetto.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. Like, as far removed as you see me from ghetto, like in that environment, I would have been ghetto.
Is that offensive, country bumpkin?
I think it can be to some people.
What is it? I don't even know the origins of that. Maybe I shouldn't be using that kind of term if I don't even know where it's from.
No, but I do want to talk about...
now I have to look that up.
So here are 5 reasons that people use code switching. So the first one is lizard brains. So this is when you completely inadvertently it just happens. So like this is like a good example. Like if you're Spanglish, like if you use Spanish, like all of a sudden like it comes out without you even knowing. So they call that like the lizard brain.
See, but it's okay. So the lizard brain, it's the most common examples of code switching were completely inadvertent. Folks would slip into different languages or accents without even realizing it or intending to do it. Okay. So even that happens to me often.
Yeah, like
I think and my problem is that when I get comfortable with people, like I test them out to see how comfortable they are with me, and the more that I feel, the more comfortable they are with me, the more not the real, because they're different versions of yourself, but the comfortable Angelica, the friendly.
Yeah, the
Angelica comes out.
The Angelica that you would be in, the unguarded.
Less guarded.
The less guarded Angelica.
Because the completely unguarded, it's a whole other story. It's far and few between, I think, people that would know me, that know me. It's like family and a few friends. But like even that, some friends, like not completely, totally, some friends know.
But isn't that crazy though, that we have to like be so guarded with each other? Like in general, like isn't it like?
I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing that sometimes some of us should be, because that teaches you boundaries. That teaches you like responsibility, accountability. Like you should be aware of like what you're saying and who you're saying it to, and that definitely teaches you like it. Trust is built like that, and I think it's good. You definitely don't like. I don't running into offices or restaurants or to open spaces with people and just start talking, like, you know what I mean? And not that I don't think it's a good thing. I think if that's what you do, like I've seen it happen where some people, they're like,
some people are just friendly.
Yeah, and some people, and I think it's awesome, but with even that, Juan, like I take caution even with that. Like with people who are like in such, because I'm like, it's too much too soon, and I don't like, we need to set like the scenario, you know what I mean? Like
I feel like if you know why you're doing it and you're doing it by choice, then that's cool, but I think if you're doing it just because you think you have to do it, and you're not necessarily doing it by choice, then I feel like that's different.
I mean, like, yeah, sometimes I like run into people's houses kicking over like a couple of chairs and acting all kinds of wild, and it's true. Like that is a version of me, and I'm completely comfortable with that. Or like when you like around my sisters and you're like, y'all are way too fucking loud. There's not a volume on either one of y'all or any of y'all. My nieces walk in, the kids are running around, nobody like, and we're yelling at. I remember my cousin. So I have the habit that when the kids are being like loud and running around and they're like, I'm like, all right, let's call order. Let's call some order here. And so I was like, hey, no running. Hey, no running. Hey, no running. Right. You call order to them. And one of my cousins was like, hey, like they're kids. And I'm like, Yeah, this is the difference between me and y'all. This is the like first, like I know, like I'm like, okay, you're making, you know what I mean? So I guess we were establishing those boundaries and that trust with each other, where he was like, hey, these are kids, like relax, they're gonna scream and yell, and I'm like, I think you're talking to one of our aunts. I'm not the one. You know, damn well these kids are acting a goddamn fool, and there needs to be order because they're not gonna respect any of us. So, but they're setting boundaries. We're setting boundaries with each other, and it was not a cousin that I grew up with, but that's the good part of it. And so and I feel comfortable like that with people, to be able to have conversations like that with them. I definitely didn't mind it. We knew each other's boundaries, and they were set, and we're like, cool.
But you were in a comfort, you were with somebody that you were comfortable with. You weren't going to like a new environment where you felt like you had to be different, you had to act different because you, like, if it would have been a stranger, like if it would have been a lady that you didn't know who happened to be of another like or like another ethnicity than you,
not even ethnicity, within the same,
would you have felt comfortable to tell her like, oh no, we're teaching them boundaries? Like if she would have said something about the kids or whatever, like the same scenario, would you have felt the same comfort?
So say it was my kids and they were being loud, and I guess I wasn't like controlling them, right? And a stranger came up to me and told me, I don't know who you are. That's not a boundary that we've like set. That's that. But there's that trust. But had I been with a friend, you know what I mean? Yeah. Had I been with a friend and their kids, and they would have been like, what's going on? But even then, I don't tell like my friends' kids things. Like I don't tell them, don't do this, don't touch that. That's a horrible, like that's not, like I'm not there to discipline anybody's kids, but the kids are in my family. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let's see. Let's talk about the other 4 reasons why people code switch. So the other second reason is because they want to fit in. So because they want to be part of a group, or they want to talk more to those around them.
Very often people code switch, but consciously and unconsciously, to act or talk more than those around them. While this can be effective, it can also be, what does that mean?
Perilous.
What does that mean?
Like it can also be like what I was saying earlier. Like it can also be negative.
Okay.
Like it can also take a toll or become overwhelming. So you want to fit in, and you're not being yourself because you're trying to be part of the group. You're trying to, like, you talk like the group, you act like the group, and you're not.
So you're over talking?
No, you're talking like you change the manner in which you would normally communicate to be more like the group that you're hanging out with.
Oh, okay. To fit in.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah.
And the other one,
that was a long explanation just to understand that.
Yeah, because you read it and you're like, what is that?
Well, maybe somebody out there didn't know either.
You back up on your bullshit, don't belong to me. You acting all sleazy, I don't like what I see. I got all the game, don't get fucked in your brain. I can do you worse than you ever did me first.
Hey, this is Angelica Casares.
And this is Juan Alanis.
Thank you so much for joining us on season 2 of Juana Words Podcast. You can find us on
Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, on Stitcher, Spotify, and other platforms. Also on our website at juanawords.com. And we hope you enjoyed the episode that you're listening to right now.
And if you enjoyed it, you can leave us a review and a thumbs up. Especially on the Apple platform, the higher ratings and the reviews we get, the more listeners we actually can be found by.
Yeah.
So
it really does help us. So we really would appreciate it, a rating or a review on Apple Podcast. And until next time, thank you.
See you then. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Back up on my piece shit, I don't care if you don't like it. I'm really different, don't gotta show you I'm like that. Like the baby.
So here we go. The third reason is they want to get something. A lot of folks code switch not just to fit in, but to actively ingratiate themselves to others. We cannot tell you how many dozens of stories we got from people who work in service industries who said that a southern accent is a surefire way to get better tips and more sympathetic customers. Apparently, everyone who works in a restaurant picks up y'all immediately upon arriving at their job. If you can pull off the right accent in the right context, you can get all kinds of favors, as this story from Patty Hollins Head illustrates. So this is an article where they were referencing different people.
Is it like the whole southern? Like the Southern kindness, the Southern hospitality.
Like the Southern charm. Like, I guess if you have and they were saying in this particular like survey that they did, that they asked their readers to send them like when they code switch. Somebody was saying, like, a lot of people were saying that they code switch, that when they're in the service industry and they use a Southern accent, that I guess people like take kinder to them.
That's true. I remember that. I totally remember like the waitresses and the waiters like being like that. Like, you serve a table, you just give them a big old smile and you're like, how are y'all doing today? That's immediate, like an invitation to be like either talk or be like, and some people are like, perfect, can I get my drink? And you're like, yeah, of course. And you keep the Southern charm.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's all like you ingratiate yourself with people. So, like,
so it's beneficial.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it can be beneficial. Yeah. Or the fourth reason is you want to say something in secret. So we collected many sweet stories of people code switching in order to hide in plain sight, a habit most common among people in love. Because this tactic often relies on assumptions, it can get one in trouble, as Veronica Rodriguez can attest. So I guess like if you like, it's your own like little language, like your code switching is another reason that people like were saying that they were code switching, because they like talked amongst each other like in ways that only they understood.
I don't know how you're gonna hide that. You just gotta like we see you. Sometimes y'all even like y'all don't need. Some people don't even code switch. They code switch to like their love language, but like it's obvious. Like when people are like either they get awkward around each other, and they're like, dude, I know we're not here together. Whatever. We all know y'all here together. Like you can see it so often. Sometimes they'll glance at each other. They're like, there's this glance that people do when they're like one either into each other or two like they have like there's this thing between them, right? Like they didn't just get together 2 days ago and talk about the whole group or something. So somebody will say something, and this has happened to me. Oh my god, I got just excited. This has happened to me. God, I remember we were with friends, and I said something, and one of them was like looking at the menu, and she looks up and she looks at the other like, "Do you hear that? Like, what did I say? What y'all talk about? What happened? Tell me what happened." But of course somebody did. And I was like, okay, well, if it's a big deal, like they're my friends, so if it was a big deal, they would have been like, okay, we need to tell you something about that. You know what I mean? So I was like, it's not a big deal. So. But when people are together, they'll do that thing where they'll glance at each other and they'll like try to glance away, and we're like, we caught you. And don't be lying. Like, we know y'all together. We know y'all showed up together.
So the fifth reason is it helps us to convey a thought. So certain concepts need that perfect. What?
Certain concepts need that
perfection not to come across effectively. I don't know what that means, but many people switch languages, employ colloquialisms to express particular ideas, as in this story from Jennifer Monahan. So yeah, I guess it's like you like it helps you to convey a thought, like when you're just trying to like say something and like I guess almost like when you do it in when you switch to Spanish,
when we go to Spanglish, yeah, because
you're trying to say something, but
you're trying to get the emotion,
but you can't really like say the same thing, or you can't express the same thing.
I feel like I did part of that today. I do it through text now. I inadvertently do it now through like social sites. I wanted to say something, and then and I couldn't express it in the only way I could express like a deep profound of like my like instead of saying I'm sorry, like, and I had to be like lo lamento. To me, it's more, it's not just I'm sorry, it's more like lo lamento. It's like I feel it, like I'm genuinely sorry. I'm genuinely like like, you know what I mean? It has like it's an invoked emotion that you want to say, and the only way that I could say it was saying it in Spanish. Yeah.
No, and I think that makes sense, because I think we all like we do that a lot, like where we go back and forth, like between like sometimes it's just more comfortable, like where you just feel more comfortable, or like you feel like that there's more meaning behind like whatever you would say it in Spanish rather than in English. And I don't know, but to me, like I feel like code switching is not necessarily a bad thing. So I don't know if I was making it sound like I thought it was a bad thing at the beginning, but I'm not really trying to make it sound like it's a bad thing. Like,
I thought you were trying to make your point. I thought you were trying to make your case as to like why it's a bad thing. And when I first heard it, I was like, I understand the other side of like why it would be unfortunate to code switch You know what I mean? Like for the entirety of like, it's a survival mechanism for, you know, for some, and then for others. And I see it like, yeah, for sure. Like when I walk into a courthouse, I obviously I'm going to talk differently. Obviously I'm going to address the, you know, as soon as you walk in the door, right? The people who check your bags, the police officers, the person at the, excuse me, oh, is this seat taken? Can I sit here? And you know what I mean? Like you address anybody behind the, like in front of the guard where the benches are at or whatever. Anybody you address is going to be completely separate and differently. And because you already feel like there's already, like you already exist in like if we were a point system, I already have like a negative 3 points. So I got to get like a few like grace points like up there to be, oh, she's well mannered, oh, you know, she has taken her time to be, you know, prepared, maybe she even sounds educated, she sounds like, you know, she's contributing, you know, whether that's me bringing up the fact that I worked this or that I worked that, or I came from here, I came from there, you know what I mean? Like I work here and I do this. But yeah, so anyway, I think I can see both sides, but I think for me, I think code switching has definitely benefited me. And it's so funny that you say that, because I was aware that I was doing it well into middle school. Even through high school, I was doing it.
Well, I think that like I think code switching can be like beneficial, and I've done it to where it's benefited me also.
I think we've even taught Edgar how to code switch.
Yeah, and I think it's like a natural thing, honestly. Like it's a natural thing that you learn. Like I think, but I guess like going back a little bit, like for me, like code switching, I think if you, like I said before, like I think there's a time and place for it. So maybe not always, like you said, like there's a time and place for it. So there's not necessarily that you always want to code switch or that you always feel like it's good or bad. I guess it depends on the situation and like why you're doing it. But it also reminds me, like when I used to go to college, when I was in college, and like I would run into the janitors at my school, and like I would always talk to them in Spanish. Like I would, like if I was walking and like if I was greeting, like because there was, I guess there were, UH did have a lot of Hispanic kids, but I don't feel like there were that, like, but every time I would like be walking and I happened to run into a custodian, and like I would say hola to them, and they would say hola to me, like we would just greet each other in Spanish, and I felt like it was like like an acknowledgement of each other to be like, yeah, like I speak Spanish like you do, yeah, like we both like we're both part of the same culture.
You're establishing that trust. You're establishing that connection, and I think that's a form of like, hey, if I ever need you, can I use you? Or hey, if you ever need me, like I'm here.
Or like even in jobs, like when I worked in offices where, you know, when the janitorial stuff would come in, like they would speak to me in Spanish, like they would talk to me in Spanish, and I would talk to them in Spanish, or like I would ask them, ¿Cómo está? How are you doing? Like, like, and it was like they wouldn't do that with anybody else in the office, because nobody else like really like was Hispanic
spoke the language,
and it was like a comfort thing. I felt like for them and for me, it was like, oh yeah, like we're cool, you know, like
like I got a friend in that office, like if something ever happens, like I have my friend.
So I feel like that, like code switching in that case is like, it's not like it's a thing that's like establishing trust, like you said, and it's a good thing. But I feel like on the opposite side, if you feel like you're forced to code switch, even if you don't want to, just to get opportunities, for me, then I feel like it's like,
for me, I do it because I want to invite everybody into like the spectrum, not the spectrum. I want to invite everybody into like the space that I'm in, and I don't ever want people to feel like they can't approach me. And so I do it with everybody. I code switch depending again with my environment and who I'm talking to. And I go back to the luncheons and all those other places, and we have friends, and where they'll talk to me, and of course I met them in a certain way, and they'll talk to me, and I'll be completely open at that point and be like, hey, you know, where they're, you know, we start playing around and we try to see like how, again, establishing trust, and we try to see where we are at with each other. And I've gained some amazing relationships and friendships in that manner. No, but I want to be approachable.
Yeah, and I do too, and I think that that's good. But I'm like, but why can't I be approachable if I'm eating tortillas with my hands? And like, why can't we be approachable?
Why do you always go back to food?
I don't know, but I'm like, why can't I be approachable if I speak Spanglish? Why can't I be approachable if I don't necessarily,
because what if the other person doesn't speak Spanglish? How can they? How are they gonna know that?
But I'm making the effort to like make them more comfortable. So like, I feel like sometimes like, why can't it be like? Why is it that you as a person that's different have to switch to the thing that's normal? Mm-hmm. Why can't you be?
It's cultural differences.
Why can't you give cultures the same impressions just being without doing those things?
It's cultural differences within some cultures. You don't. Your immediate family is like brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, and cousins, right? And then some other cultures, immediate family is your brother and your sister. And if they get married, they're no longer your immediate family. Your immediate family now is your wife, husband, and kid. You know what I mean? And so I can see why like it's foreign to us, Juan. But it's been explained to me over and over, time and time again, that some boundaries are set and some people don't open up easily because they have diaries. I don't know. We don't. Our diaries are like siblings.
Yeah, and no, I mean,
do you know what I mean? Like, if you think about it, our diaries literally are our cousins and our siblings that we tell everything to. And then sometimes some of us have the fortunates of having like friends that I tell people, like I have a friend, like if she wrote, like if the only person that I would be scared of, if she wrote a book on me, like I would be like, holy shit. You know what I mean? So I don't know, like I get it.
Yeah, no, and I mean I understand it too. I guess I'm just saying, like, I guess my point in saying that is just like, if we really want to like if we really are like striving to get to a place where it's more accepting of everybody's, like everybody that's different and everybody's different cultures, then why do we have to keep code switching out of our own cultures to be accepted by the main culture or the mainstream culture?
I see what you're saying, but like, for example, if you're going to come into my culture,
and to me, I would like it not to be that much, and so I'd rather make the choice to not be so like, to not code switch as much, or at least if I'm going to code switch, to at least know why I'm doing it.
Yeah. For me, I think it's nice to know that if somebody wants to come into my environment, that they understand the nuances of it. They know nuances of my culture. And if they have to like either stand a guard and listen and pay attention, and they have to code switch, like, or if I don't want them to code switch, but if they do, I'm not going to like, I don't think I'll, you know what I mean? I don't think I'll judge them for it. I'd rather it be the realness, to the core. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'd rather that they be who they are and I be who I am, and we just like happen to be friends, or we just happen to work together, and that's it. And like, we don't have
sometimes relationships happen, and sometimes you're very cognizant of like that stuff.
And I think like but I think it's a conscious choice, like to make that choice to be like, I'm not gonna code switch, or because sometimes we're so used to doing it that it's like saying, okay, no, like I need to stop myself from doing it. If I really want to just be, if I really just want to be myself, then I just need to be myself. Yeah. And not do all the code switching. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think that was my main thing in just bringing up this topic, and I hope that kind of made sense. I know that we kind of
rambled on everywhere. Like we're all over the place.
Went all over the place with.
We talked a little bit about everything. I know. Yeah. Oops, sorry guys. You know us.
But I think that you kind of got the gist of where we stand in terms of the code switching and
apparently the vaccine too.
Yeah, and but tell us what your thoughts are, because I think it'd be interesting to hear kind of other people's perspective, and there's never like a right or wrong. I think it's just us kind of sharing our opinions, and the opinions can definitely change. We are 3 months from now, 6 months from now, our opinions may be different, because we're just always changing.
Or it might be something you said that we were like, oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. And so we want to hear your thoughts.
Yep. So if you do listen to us and you're not watching us, we do also upload these videos. You can watch us on Facebook and YouTube, and just look for us on juanofwords.com, and you'll find all our links there. But with that, I do want to say thank you once again to our sponsor of this show, Comcast. And what is it that you say at the end?
And with that,
we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.